Paprika is a 5-star chain medic who's only available through headhunting and was originally released in the Bearings and Sparks banner alongside Stainless. Since she's the first and only chain medic, the trait of her subclass is that her healing bounces between 3 allies, with the healing being reduced by 25% per bounce, similar to chain casters like Passenger. Paprika has 2 years of combat experience, most likely coming from her time as a Colombian mercenary who was later hired by Manfred to come to Londinium, as well as knowing W and Inez. She stands at 155 centimeters tall, was born on the 13th of March in Colombia, and is of the Devil Sarkaz race. In her archive files and promotion record, it's noted that Paprika was formerly a Sarkaz merc, but left her original post. It is described as a straightforward and lively girl. Due to her appearance, most regard her as a Girl Scout instead of a merc, being too young, inexperienced, and not forward-thinking. Most ops who met her shared the opinion that someone like Paprika should have never been fighting in Londinium, which is the case as Paprika only did minor duties, such as being a bodyguard or killing bees. When her team lead Grimm told everyone they were going to Londinium, Paprika didn't really understand what this new contract entailed. The trust she had in her leader lasted until she was brought back to the barracks by Manfred, seeing what war was truly like. Paprika's parents died when she was very young, causing her to be raised by her grandma in a small Colombian town. The town was hours away from the nearest city, with a large amount of pioneers and infected in the area. Even though life was hard, Paprika enjoyed a stable and happy childhood. She became infected at a young age with no critical flare-ups. Her grades at school were average, with the school she enrolled in encouraging her to drop out, with no other accepting her. Paprika then helped out her grandma with knitting, then followed local pioneers to slay beasts for money, later meeting Sarkaz mercs, and then joining them. The third archive file is multiple purchase records going from 004 to 007. All of the orders are for different bundles of yarn and sacks of colored beads, with each being marked as for personal use, and commenting that if there's a sale, get more, if not, just find the cheapest they can find. Order 005 asked the orderer to get something high quality and more durable, as the previous brand didn't hold up against explosions. This is most likely due to W using whatever Paprika made, as the same comment asked how often W and Inez come aboard. Order 006 was cancelled. There's a log from the logistics department as well, saying that Paprika cancelled an order after W pulled her leg about making her a bag, commenting as well that she should sell her wares on the ship as they would go for a lot of money. After facing the string of events she faced, Paprika has clearly matured. She started to think a lot of questions. What meaning does rebuilding Kazdel have for the Sarkaz? How do wars happen? Why do people choose to give their lives without a second thought? She still hasn't found concrete answers to her questions. Whenever she looks at the old cigarette box in her hand, she thinks of the night in the Colombian wilderness, sitting next to Grimm by the campfire. He often talked about the good life awaiting the Sarkaz just around the corner, but ended up dying in Victoria. When she was detained by Manfred, she held on to that cigarette box. But she then figured it out. She didn't want to be a merc who killed without a second thought, especially under Manfred. Her promotion record is a mistakenly recorded comms log. From the text, my best guess is that it's W who's being recorded. She mainly talks about how Paprika has been knitting things for everyone, including herself, such as doctor's earmuffs, knee pads for herself, Hibiscus's medical pouch, and trinkets for Beanstalk's metal crabs. Paprika, as mentioned in our archive files, is confirmed to be infected. She has a cell originum assimilation of 10% and a blood originum crystal density of 0.26 parts per liter. There are comments on her file saying that there are crystals on her right arm and chest, as well as Paprika being infected for several years, with her condition being currently stable. In her character art drawn by Via, Paprika wears a black ripped sheer dress underneath a ripped crop top sweater and black with red accents hooded cloak, a red and gray knitted hat, a pouch across her shoulders, a bandolier across her chest, a knitted red and gray shawl, poncho, Underneath that, a belt with pouches and sewing kit, a little red pouch with a flower button, metal knee pads, an empty holster on her upper left thigh, baggy lace-up sandals, and multiple knitted bracelets around her left wrist. She holds her staff, which is very sharp looking and has multiple red and white pieces of cloth hanging off of it, in her left hand. In her voice lines, voiced by Yu Sasahara, who voices Enliliko in Shadow's House, Kurin Chan in Uma Musume, Boise in Azure Lane, and Lynette in Genshin Impact, Paprika talks about knitting and W often.
よっしゃー順調っす今度こそもう救援なんていらないもんな。これで W もイネスも文句ないっしょ。ドクターって結構やるっすよね。こんな戦術を思いつくなんて。うちからしたらあの爆弾女 W よりずっとすげえっす。めっちゃ暇。ドクターになんかあんもっか。うちの腰につけてるポーチなんかどうっすか？ガチ使いやすいっすよ。ドクター、塩とか持ってたりしないっすか？オッケーオッケー、貸して。じゃがいも茹でてるんだけど、塩をちょいっとかけるとめっちゃうまなんすよ。うちらが外勤任務の時はいっつもこうして食べてたっす。あと、この焼き上がった果物、W とイネスんとこに持ってってあげて。うちからっていうのは言うなよ。絶対な。ここにいると W に会うかもしれないって聞いたんだけど、マジっすか？あの時はあいつとイネスが助けてくれたから、感謝はしてるっすけど、あいつ、たまにガチうざくって。ドクターもよくあんなやつ雇う勇気あるっすね。ドクター、おいでおいで。これ着てみな。へえ、結構似合うじゃん。これな、うちのばあちゃんがドクターにってわざわざ編んでくれたんだ。うちとお揃いな。あったかくて気持ちいいっしょ。あんたのことをばあちゃんに話したらさ、いい人だねって褒めてたよ。このポンチョ、触り心地いいっしょ。ばあちゃんが編んでくれたんす。めっちゃあったかいぞ。
At E2 with max trust and potential, Paprika has 1,866 HP, 513 attack, 171 defense, 0 resistance, a 66-second redeploy time, 16 DP cost, and a 2.85 second attack speed. Her range is the same as a multi-target medic. At max trust, she gets plus 200 HP and plus 50 attack. At max pot, she gets minus 2 DP, minus 4 seconds to redeploy, plus 24 attack, and a buff to her talent. Her talent, which is unlocked at E1 and buffed at E2 pot 4, Focused Attention, at E2 pot 4, when healing, Paprika heals an extra 150 HP if the target is below 40% HP. Paprika has 2 base skills, with one being upgraded at E2. Her first base skill, Full of Vigor, when Paprika is assigned to the control center, all trading posts get plus 7% order efficiency. The most effective type of this skill will take effect when assigned ops have the same skill effect. Her second base skill, Tailoring Alpha, is upgraded to Tailoring Beta when Paprika is promoted to E2. When Paprika is assigned to a trading post, the chance of getting a high-yield precious metal order is increased. The rate is influenced by the length of work time, and morale consumed per hour is reduced by negative 0.25. Paprika's first skill, Shielding Tactics Gamma, gains SP over time and is manually triggered, starting with 20 SP and lasting for 30 seconds at all levels. At level 7, it needs 32 SP to proc, while M3 needs 30. At level 7, Paprika gets plus 55 attack speed. At M3, she gets plus 85 attack speed. Her second skill, Camaraderie, gains SP over time and is manually triggered, lasting for 25 seconds at all levels. At level 7, it starts with 25 SP and needs 35 SP to proc. At M3, it starts with 25 and needs 30. At level 7, Paprika gets plus 50% attack, plus 1 bounce per heal for, I assume, a total of 4 bounces, and her talents proc at 70% HP instead of 40%. At M3, she gets plus 70% attack, plus 1 bounce per heal, and her talent procs at 80% HP. Paprika, while having an interesting subclass, is going to be relegated to the same status as Passenger and other chain casters until she gets a module that negates the drop-off between the bounces. But first, the pros. Since her healing bounces, that means, like chain casters, she can reach targets outside of her range if allies are placed correctly. Her S1 increases her attack speed, which is needed, and her S2 increases the number of healing bounces, as well as upping the threshold for her talent to proc. Said talent gives a guaranteed heal of 150 HP at E2 Pot 4. But back to the cons. Unlike the chain casters who lose 15% of their damage per jump, Paprika instead loses a whole 25%, 1/4 of her healing per jump, meaning that by the time it reaches the third, or fourth if she uses her S2, ally, it'll barely heal anything, unless you're counting the 150 HP from her talent, and even then, not that much. There's also multiple better alternatives to Paprika. If you want to heal 3 ops at once, use Talopsis, Nightingale, or Perfumer. Hell, Perfumer can heal like 4 allies at once with her module, as well as passively healing everyone on the map with her talent. Same can be said about Sculptor. You also have single target medics who have much better healing than her, such as Silence, Shining, Warfarin, and Susuro. Unless she gets a module like Passenger that either reduces or completely negates the healing drop-off, I would not recommend building Paprika whatsoever. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates, and please check out my other Arknights and Azure Lane videos as well. There will be a teaser out tomorrow for next week's character summaries.